All right, so we're recording.
All right.
So welcome, Amy. Glad that you could join onto our webinar podcast today. And I guess let's tell me a little bit about your Amazon journey and where you started.
Well, I started selling on Amazon. Well, thanks for having me as well. I haven't been, featured in a legal group before. I feel very, very special.
Well, welcome.
Thanks. Well, I started selling on Amazon in 2007, but just as a hobby, not serious or anything. I don't think anyone was selling like serious back then anyway. But I was just flipping textbooks and thrift store stuff. And, I was in college, I was in the military, and I just kind of did it as like a fun little side business thing. And then, I just last year, well, 2 years ago now, oh my gosh, time flies. But 2 years ago now, I decided that I had some stinky litter boxes that I could not figure out a good litter box or a good way to clean them. And I have migraines that are caused by smells and lights and just bad migraines. So I was like, man, I'm not going to get rid of my pets. I've got to figure this out. So I, started on the journey to actually invent a product. And at that time I wasn't selling on Amazon. I kind of like took a break from it. And, I was just kind of like working full time and doing all those, those other things and going to school and everything. And, but anyway, I started on this journey and I knew that I could launch my product on Amazon because I had been selling on Amazon for so long, and had some good experience with it. So yeah, so I have a pet product on Amazon and a full line of products on Amazon. And since then I have become a business consultant and helping other people figure it out, because when you want to bring a new product to market, sometimes can be tough to design and to patent and to protect it and to source it. Like sourcing is hard for people when they're wanting to develop a new product. So I kind of just found that I had this knack for helping other people figure it out as well. And so I started speaking at my local business association and helping businesses in my local community, and then, helping other Amazon sellers. So now I have my own consulting firm called Amazing at Home. And yes, and I also just this year, I partnered with some bigger names in retail, because I know a lot of people want to take their brands past retail or past Amazon into small independent retailers and big box retail. So I partnered with some awesome partners, and we actually created a course to take people to China, to the Canton Fair, and we give them training ahead of time to actually teach them the best practices for how to build a brand and how to source unique products and design them and manufacture them, and then get them sold not only on Amazon, but to all the many retail channels that are available to them.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And thank you for your service, by the way. I meant to tell you earlier, so thank you.
You're welcome. I would do it 100 times over again. It was a great time.
Yeah, I bet. You have a really cool service thing too, what you were up to. So that's awesome. So yeah, well, that's really cool, especially because you're thinking so much bigger than Amazon. You're one of the omni-channel sellers, I guess is the reality, which is really cool, because it's so often we see people that are like, I'm going to strike it rich on Amazon Gold, and they build their entire business on Amazon and never think about the fact that there's like, not only are there other marketplaces like Walmart.com and Jet and eBay, but there's bricks and mortar, because bricks and mortar is not dead. I think, in fact, it's going to continue to rise in importance. And so that's just really cool that you're doing that, and especially with the IP component, because it sounds like your litter boxes are not a Me Too product that we'd find on Alibaba, which is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And they're manufactured right here in the United States of America, in Dallas, Texas. So
nice.
It's kind of fun. Like I have some products that are manufactured in China, and I have good relationships with those suppliers. But I do also have products that are made in the USA. So it's kind of nice to have both sides of things. And yeah, you're right. Yeah. IP is really important, because at the end of the day, if you're really thinking about building a big business, you want to move beyond the 4% of retail that is Amazon. Amazon is only 4% of all of retail. And so, people just don't realize how many retail channels there are out there, distributors, catalogs, all these small little mom and pop shops. There's just so many opportunities. So it's definitely cool. And all the other e-commerce channels that you mentioned, which are really cool opportunities as well. But if you don't have something kind of unique that isn't just a Me Too product, those larger brands can basically just private label it themselves. So that's where we help folks. You don't always have to invent something from scratch. Sometimes you can enhance something or just make a change and create a loyal following, and your brand can really be featured in many places. And again, Amazon's a great channel. I'm not knocking Amazon at all. It is a great channel. There's no barriers to entry. It's a great opportunity. But yeah, when you protect your ideas and you do something unique, it's worth trying to move eventually beyond Amazon.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like you said, it's only a small portion of the ecosystem, and I mean, it's a great launch point for testing. I'd say there's no better place to market test than Amazon, because you can get so much customer feedback and data to make your product better. But then once you make it on, you go beyond Amazon and you go to bricks and mortar, or you go wholesale distribution. It's a whole nother animal out there altogether. So that's awesome.
There's been a lot to learn. It's been a journey. I mean, I had no idea what it would take to get in all these different channels, because every channel has different requirements, but it's definitely possible. It's just it's a matter of learning, and that's what we're going to talk about today, right? We're talking about how do we learn about these things there's so many courses out there that are available. I have a course. I've taken courses. We go to college for these kind of things. So how do we decide when we're wanting to either get started on Amazon, or when we're wanting to go into bigger channels or anything like that? How do we decide what is out there? Because I know, as a business consultant, Jeff, I hear stories every week of people that just lost everything to a course or to a mentorship program. But at the same time, I'm a mentor and I have a course, and I would want to know if someone was having a bad experience with my services or something like that. But also, it's hard to hear these stories over and over and over again of people that they saved up a lot of money and this is their dream, and then they lost all of it to something that seemed really great but turned out not to be. Do you hear a lot of stories about stuff like that?
We do. Business? I mean, at the law firm, we hear it, like we hear it pretty much every week, different stories of, I tried this and it didn't work, or even stories where, they followed the advice of, that they found in a course, and they're trying to figure out, well, why is it not working the way I intended? For instance, I don't know how much you've seen about, my thoughts on Wyoming LLCs, but that was featured in a lot of courses as like this great, option for sellers, because you can be anonymous and you can form it yourself, and it's so cheap. But they don't tell you that the fact, like all the realities of a Wyoming LLC and all the downsides of it, that if you're going to go out of state, you need to be thinking like Delaware, because Delaware is where it is all, from a legal standpoint, is where you would really want your business to be, organized. But instead, they listen to this course, they have this false belief that in Wyoming, there's totally secret, they'll pay no taxes, they'll pay no income tax. And then, it's just this magical unicorn state. And, unlike Texas, it's not, and they can't really secede from the rest of the United States very easily. So it's still, solidly in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction of the USA. So it's not quite this unicorn they think, but it's, that's just one example. You see it also with trademarks and everything else. It's so much out there.
Yeah, I'm surprised that, speaking of vetted resources, I'm surprised how many people I run into that don't, they say, hey, how did you learn about, where to get your accountant from, or where to get a business attorney and stuff like that? And I'm like, well, there's a million small business associations right in my town. So, I live in San Antonio, but even though I have an MBA and a couple of undergraduate business degrees, I still went and got mentorship and learned
Good.
how to launch my launch my products and launch my business overall, like write my business plan. I mean, I felt so bad. I wrote my business plan. I met with a SCORE mentor and he basically was like, this is terrible. Like you need, and I'm like, I'm an educated woman, you know, but I needed help. I needed help to really sell my business, to really focus my efforts. So there's so many great resources right out there. And that's how I found my business attorney. He actually came and spoke at the Small Business Association that I was at. And I went and met with him and he helped me with understanding what type of entity I should be looking at, what needed to be in my organizational documents and my annual meeting notes and how to file those. And, you know, I think people get afraid of the cost of lawyers. Honestly, Jeff, I think people are just like, oh, it's going to be millions of dollars and I can't do it, but it's really not. And I think people forget that you can ask a lawyer how much they will charge you for it. And this other thing, maybe you're gonna edit this out later, but guys, just so you know, every time you work with a lawyer, their rates are always negotiable. They're always negotiable. I mean, seriously, yes. If it's a basic, like, you know, trademark service or something like that that's on their website, usually that's pretty standard, you know, and you can shop around. But if it's something special that they're doing for you and you're like, hey, dude, I'm on a budget. A lot of lawyers will work with you. And sometimes they can have their legal assistant do certain things for you that aren't going to have as much legal ramification, or, you know, you can draw something up and then they can just review it for you for a lesser cost. So just don't be afraid. I mean, ultimately, you want to protect your asset. How bad would it be if you did an LLC based on something that you didn't know and something in your organizational documents were wrong and you got sued and they were able to go get after your personal assets?
And it happens all the time. People don't realize how frequently products that should be harmless can harm people. You know, since you're in the pet space, you may remember the pet shampoo about 5 years ago that killed somebody, because it was manufactured defectively, and this wasn't sold on Amazon. It was sold in a bricks and mortar establishment, and it had some sort of harmful off gas that happened when she mixed a couple of different shampoos and chemical, you know, stuff together, and it must have hit the bathtub cleaning agent that was still kind of there. And she literally, I mean, it was so sad, and it rocked the world because people never thought, like, how can a pet shampoo kill somebody? And it's just the most, things happen in weird ways that you would never expect. And that's why, you know, maybe you're saving a couple $100 or a couple $1,000, depending on how complex your organization is, to go and DIY it. But then if you get a judgment against you for $500,000 and they're taking your 401k and your bank accounts and your cars and we've seen some people where they take your family photos out of the picture frames because the picture frames are worth money to auction it off. And it's so sad to see that happen. And people don't realize that that's the reality of what could happen.
And I think it's hard because a lot of people start on a budget, you know, and I think it's smart to start lean. There's a lot of free training that you can get, and you should even vet your free training, you know. We're going to give you great tools today to vet your free training or paid training. You know, you can apply these concepts to any kind of training that you get or mentorship that you get, because even at your local small business association, those are volunteers. You might get advice that you're like, I don't know. You could even get advice from a lawyer that isn't that good, right? You were telling me a story earlier, Jeff, about a lawyer that was willing to help a seller do something that could have maybe got them suspended, but you never know, you never know where that person's at or what their training was. So the bottom line is, we absolutely think it's important to have mentors and to have professional services done for your business. But at the same time, we just want to tell you how to vet them so that you can make the best possible decision. Because the other side of it is, they could sue you and take a lot of things and devastate you. But what's even worse is you could build something pretty amazing and then have to go back and fix everything. Like we talked about somebody having a trademark that that was not good. They did the trademark themselves and they didn't check for other trademarks. And it ended up being later on down the line, after everything had gone through, that they had to withdraw their trademark. And, you know, think about redoing when you have thousands and thousands of products on the market, redoing all of your websites, all of your packaging, all of your products, even the molds. Like for me, my product, it is carved into the mold that pops my product out. So if my legal stuff wasn't in check and somebody said, hey, you know, and they still could, you know, you never know. You can't control that sometimes, but that's why you have business insurance, right?
Exactly.
There's all these things, but you can't learn about those things if you don't get the right mentorship from the beginning, get the right help for your business. Don't be afraid to do it right. You know, don't cut corners in your business because you're afraid of it costing you money. You can get a lot of great free advice too, but what we're here to talk to you about today is how do you vet the advice that you get?
Exactly. So I have a question for you. Let me know the answer. Does somebody posting pictures or videos of themselves that sells courses, but it's got, you know, a really fancy sports car in the background, that means that they've done really, really well on Amazon, right?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
how can you tell? I mean, it's a fancy sports car. So when you're shopping around for courses, same thing when you go to the store, you know, I go to Walmart and I see this really expensive, you know, appliance in the kitchen department on the shelf. Well, does that mean it's really expensive? It looks nice. Like the box is so nice. Does that mean that I'm going to bring this coffee pot home and it is going to be so much better than the $20 Black & Decker?
And the answer is maybe,
no.
maybe not. You know, probably
exactly.
not.
Well, I mean, you never know, right? But the bottom line is we all know as Amazon sellers that we know the trick of perceived value. We know that if we do a really good job on packaging and photography and marketing, that we can sell our products for a lot more than they're worth. Like we know that, right?
Yeah.
We know we can sell them not than they're worth, right? It's perceived value. We know we can sell it for way over our cost. So it's the same thing comes to courses, right? I remember my web designer, he's still with me today. He still works for Amazing at Home. But when he first designed my websites and my videos for me, he said, Amy, I know that you're on a budget and you're just starting this up, but believe it or not, like you need to look like you don't need the money. Like your videos, your websites, they need to look like you don't need the money. And because that's what people want to see, right? You're selling a dream. You're selling this end result. You know, I teach a class on pitching, differentiating, pitching your business. And the third rule of creating a pitch is tell the story of what their life looks like with your product in it, right? When you're designing your pitch. And that's the thing. That's what these videos, we scroll through our Facebook feed and we see somebody standing on top of a Lamborghini and we're like, oh, wow, like what's that guy up to? You know, what's he selling? Okay, maybe I would like something like that. I like that Lamborghini. So, you know, but that doesn't tell us that this is actually a good course, and it's actually just because it's expensive and it looks cool doesn't mean it's actually going to be good for us and our business.
You know, when you said something that was really interesting is when I was 10 years old, my family moved and my mom was buying, you know, she was a single mom and she was buying a new house to get away. And the real estate agent showed up and she was driving a Range Rover. And my mom had always wanted a Range Rover. And so that was like, you know, thought that was really cool that this woman was driving a Range Rover and she's taking us to all these different houses to look at. And after they closed on the house, my mom said something to the real estate agent. She goes, so how, you know, you get to see all these houses and different people all day long. And does it make it hard for you to not want to buy some of these houses that you're showing people because they're just so beautiful and everything else? And the real estate agent looks at her, she goes, no, it's extremely easy to detach because I'm selling a dream. And this, all that we do, the way we dress, the cars we drive, the way, that we bring fresh cookies into the house before we show it. It's all about selling this dream of making people envision that they could somehow have all this too, if they just move into this house. And you see that a lot with courses and different,
and it's not a bad thing.
It's psychology.
Yeah. And as I love Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, and he talks about in his book, he says, if you really want to have a successful business, you must learn how to sell. Right. If you don't know how to sell, you're not going to be successful in business. So it's a really good skill to have. We don't want to be showing our product and being like, well, maybe it'll be nice, but you maybe pick somebody else's product because it's just all right. We're never going to do that. So of course, if I am the person selling a course, I'm going to tell you, oh, it's really great. And, the thing is, I do sell coaching and I do sell courses, and there are things that I've put a lot of hard work into. And, it's my heart and my soul sometimes that I've put into my mentorship and my coaching program and, and all of that. So of course it's my baby, it's kind of like when we fall in love with our products and we're like, it's the best thing since sliced bread because it's our baby and we put a lot of time and effort into it. So of course, you're going to be sold this, but is it the right thing for you? Am I the right business coach for you? Is Jeff the right lawyer for you, for your business? I mean, that's what we're trying to focus on today is, is the guy on the Lamborghini on your Facebook feed, is that the right course for you? And it might be. You never know. There are people that come out of those courses and go, that was great. Like I took it and I took the information from it and I used it to apply to this and I really did well. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But how do you decide if it's the right one for you? So we have 4 ways to decide for you to figure out if Jeff's the right lawyer for you, if Amy's the right business coach for you, if the Canton Fair experience is the right China trip for you. We have some ways for you to think about that. And we would love your feedback on this post as well, please.
Definitely. Absolutely.
So how Amy, go ahead.
So one question for you, because I think this is interesting. You brought this up earlier, is that you started selling in 2007, which makes, so like, if you're familiar with Paul Rafelson, who's one of the lawyers at our firm, I think he was selling in 2005 and he was doing the free FBA days as well. So he was doing retail arbitrage in 2005.
Oh, okay.
Law school. And
wow.
So he would go to like the post office and send out, products to consumers directly. Like that was just
that's what I used to do. Yeah. I would even like make my own packaging in my house. I would just like break down cardboard boxes and tape them together and
that's awesome. So when I started, it was actually FBA. So I was a little bit behind the times, I guess, but I was in 2011. And the interesting thing is I'm sure that like me, when I started, there really weren't any courses out there. And just like I'm sure when you started, there was probably no courses out there. You just had to.
No, well, there was always Amazon's help system, right? Like there was always that, but there wasn't like it is now. I mean, I had a coaching call yesterday with a client in Romania, and she was talking to me about how now these big courses are even being sold like in Romania, like locally to them. So and she said that it's the copycat thing, right? There's so many courses that are all teaching the same thing. They're just putting it's like private label or a white label. They're putting a new label on it and, it becomes this new course, but it's basically the same thing, So, but I was like, when she told me that in Romania, there's all these people selling these Amazon FBA courses locally, that just blew my mind. I was like, really? Yeah.
You think of it as being a US thing, but I guess that's the first time I've heard that, but that is really shocking to hear.
Yeah. So, like you said, back then there was nothing. So all of us old hat sellers that have been around forever, we didn't To us, taking a course is kind of foreign because we're like, I don't know. I just put some stuff up there and it's sold.
Right. That's exactly how it works. And if you made mistakes, I don't know if you ever made mistakes back in the pre-suspension days, but they used to call you on the phone and teach you what you did wrong. I don't know if you ever had one of those learning experience calls. You call them.
No, I don't think I ever got a call from Amazon. I mean, I've had plenty of more recent seller support frustrating phone calls, but but even so, like some of the best tips I've learned even more recently, as I've represented more brands, as far as, I've got access to so many Seller Central accounts as a business consultant for Amazon that it's that I spend a lot of time on the phone with seller support because I see a lot of stuff that I'm just like, I've never seen this before. This is totally weird. What is going on? So I'll get on the phone with them. But honestly, some of the best tips and tricks that I've learned have been taught to me from seller support directly. So that's why when people are like, is this product insert okay? Or is this, is this legal? Is this against terms of service? Call them and ask. They will tell you. They're not going to suspend you for asking, but and so that's, I think, where a lot of people make mistakes is there's so many courses out there that are teaching you to do these things, but people aren't actually going on Amazon and talking to seller support. I think there's just this fear that you have to like everything needs to be sneaky, or it's not, or it's not a good technique or something. But you can definitely reach out to seller support and get their help. And, and not every single phone call is going to be super helpful.
Right. Be careful what you ask them,
Exactly.
Don't go to seller, for instance, don't go to them for legal advice. I've had one seller call one time and reached out to them. They sent an email. I said, I want to start selling a private label sporting goods, and I'm going to call it Nike, but with a Y at the end of it. Can I create a brand and call it that? And the person wrote back, hello, this is so-and-so from seller support. Surely I've researched your issue and kindly note that yes, you can, if it's not in the catalog already as a brand name, you can create it. And when you have your trademark, here's the brand registry link. And,
oh man,
best of luck. And so, make sure you know what you're going to them for, because on the other hand, but if you're asking them how do I send in a shipping plan, or what, what are acceptable
things? You should be
things?
going to them and not to a lawyer. You shouldn't go to your lawyer about a shipping plan. You should go to Amazon about that.
Right.
Yeah, completely agree. And that's what we're talking about, making sure you have the right mentors for your business at the right time, free or paid. How do you do that? Yeah.
Right. No, exactly. So here's one of your, how do you tell, I read your post, which I have to say was great. The post that you wrote all about mentorship. How do you choose a mentor? How do you choose a course? So tell me about your first bullet point. Do you want me to read it out loud, or do you want to read it for us? What do you think?
Well, it's really how I started is, how do you tell a sales funnel course for robots versus a good mentorship program? So how can you tell if something is the right? So I kind of started it as, look, the post in my group was all about what do you guys think about paid coaching? And that was kind of the conversation that we were having. And I started mine with, well, I'm a paid coach. I offer paid coaching services, but I also get mentors myself, paid mentors myself, to help my own businesses grow. So I was like, how do you properly vet a program? There's nothing wrong with free or paid. And so I kind of gave 4 points. And the first one is, did someone refer you based on their personal experience? And what was their return on their investment? So, when you see the guy on the Lamborghini on your Facebook feed, and you're like, wow, this looks really great. That's my dream. That's what I want. I want the Lamborghini. Nothing wrong with that. I like my Prius, but if you want a Lamborghini, I'm not judging you. So, but think about, did you actually get referred to that program by someone, or can you find somebody that will give you their personal experience? Right. That, you could, and you often see these posts in groups, people say, hey, has anyone taken this person's course or this or that? And then you get lots of candid feedback. So that's a great thing to do. Post in a group and say, hey, does anyone have personal experience with this? And if so, can you tell me about it? So think about that. Is your first call is based on an ad you saw on Facebook, do some research and try to find some genuine references. So this comes on the legal side of thing, right? Like you're vetting a supplier. If you're vetting a Chinese supplier, you want to make sure that you can actually find them on the internet. Yesterday, I had Angelo Vergara from Kima, an inspection company, on my podcast, and we were talking about. He said, that the reason you should do a factory audit is because many cases they've sent people out to they've sent people out for inspections. And this is after the order's been paid for and everything, and they say it's ready for shipment, and they'll go out for the inspection, and there's nothing there at the address that was given. And their stuff is just gone, and their money's gone, everything. So this is just due diligence, guys. Go out there and search. Make sure you can find them on the internet. Make sure that you can find a personal reference. Ask your supplier for references, whatever it is, whether it's a supplier or a course or a lawyer or, anybody. Make sure that you're a business coach. Make sure that you are getting someone else's personal experience or references for that person. Think about it. You wouldn't hire an employee to work in your business without vetting their references, would you? No, so why would you partner with a lawyer or a supplier or a business coach or a course that's costing you thousands of dollars without vetting?
And also think too, in terms of vetting, something that's really important, affiliate links, because so many times you see different people posting links, for instance, like you'll see you see, especially inside some of the courses too, but like, someone recommends like, oh, you can file your own, LLC at LegalZoom. Here's the link. But then you look at the end and there's like ref ID, and this long string of, numbers and letters identifying the fact that they're now getting paid because they recommended that you do this. You save money through their affiliate link code, and they don't mention the fact that they're getting paid on the back end.
And it's different, I think, if the person is full disclosure, which you're supposed to be as an affiliate. If they're giving full disclosure and they're like, look, I personally use this program and I like it for the following reasons. This is what it's done for me. Again, they're giving you their return on investment, their personal experience with it. And then they say, I like it so much, this is my affiliate link. So I will receive a small little bit of payment if you click this link and you sign up, but I'm just sharing my personal experience with it. And then you can go through these vetting processes and decide for yourself if that LegalZoom program is right for you, or all of that. So make sure before you click on the LegalZoom and do the LLC that somebody else has told you, oh yeah, that was great for me. They helped me when I was in this situation, and it was a really good service for me.
Right, exactly. No, I think those are great, because the ROI is, I think, something a lot of people don't even ask. They don't even think to ask, like, tell me, what, coach you're using, but why? No, that why question usually gets overlooked, and it's such an important question for people to think about, because, especially in the Amazon space where everyone can be a consultant.
And I think like return on investment is different for everyone, so some people say, well, yeah, it's tripled my sales. And other people will say something like, well, I really needed some direction and it gave me the direction that I needed to move forward. Or, so there's different returns on investment, because time is money. And, so that's definitely, it doesn't always have to be like, oh, are you a millionaire now because you signed up for this? It doesn't always have to be that. It can be, no, that allowed me to get unstuck, or that allowed me to move forward in my business. So that's, I think everyone's return on investment and the value behind that is different. But make sure that you at least ask, like, what was the value that you got out of that? And then you align that with your own values. And the second thing that we talk about so you want to make sure there's some kind of personal reference and return on investment. So the second thing is, when you see that ad or you see that affiliate link, and you're considering this coaching program or this course, look at the actual course content and the course layout. Is this a program where you just watch videos and make your own decisions? Or is it combined with one-on-one mentorship at no extra cost?
It's a very good
So,
point.
the thing is, we got a lot of feedback from, this was our first actual, our beta, our China trip was, we got some feedback from some folks that had been through other courses, naturally, because we wanted to improve ours, right? And what they were saying is sometimes they paid for courses that they just saw videos, and they paid thousands of dollars, and they would just be shown videos, and there wasn't any actual direction. And then some people had taken trips to China with other groups, and they would get there and they'd say, oh, well, if you want to learn how to, if you want to learn how to do this, it's another $1,000. Or if you want to take part in this, and they'd already paid so much, but it's framed in a way where they feel like, oh, wow, if I don't do this, I'm not going to succeed, or, so really look at what's included, and is that what you need? So if you're a visual learner, and the course is just is not in a visual format. Like, I got coaching originally when I first reached out for coaching, and I'm a visual learner, and I need things written down for me, and that I can read later, right? And the coaches didn't really work out for me because we weren't like screen sharing, or it wasn't something where I felt like, okay, I can go execute this now. It would just like, we would sit and talk, and I'm like, okay, now what?
Right.
So make sure you take your own learning requirements into consideration, and look at the course format, and then go, okay, what's included? And if I'm one of those people who needs one-on-one mentorship after I watch a video, is that going to be included, or am I going to have to pay extra for that? Right?
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if that mentorship is included, can you actually get a referral for that mentor from our first point of, hey, remember, check your references. So, you go out online and you're checking out this course, and they're like, oh, all these experts, this is who you get to talk to. Well, they might say that they're great and that they've been on Amazon since, the beginning of time or something, but can you actually get information to vet them? Don't just, remember that marketing is going to look really good, but can you actually vet that? So think about the course content and whether or not it's right for you. And also if there's going to be a bunch of upsells later, and whether you're going to require those upsells.
Right. And another thing to think about too is we've seen some clients where they talk to us and they say, oh yeah, I signed on, whether, it ranges all the way from, consultants to coaches that they have signed on with, and they think they're getting one-on-one mentorship with that, expert in the field. And then after they've paid the money and they've gone through the sales talk, they're reassigned to somebody else on the team who might even be in the Philippines. That's just really just a glorified question writer that's taking the questions, looking it up like seller support would do. And if they don't have it, then they take it to the person on the expert to get an answer, and then bring it back to you. So
that is such a good point. Yes, because the coaching that a lot of these bigger programs sell, you're not actually getting coaching from that program's mentor. You're getting coaching from some 800 number that you're like, what is this? Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, even like, for instance, in the law firm world, like when we, I always will talk to any of the clients that need to talk to me. I'll get on the phone with them. And like, once they become a client, they get my personal cell phone number. I say, text me anytime. If it's 2 a.m, probably not going to write you back, but the next morning I'll see it and I'll try to write you back and do that, because to me, it's important that they get the expert help, and make sure your coach is willing to do that. And also that's where that vetting comes back, because, that's where that, like you were talking about the slick marketing, you got to watch out. Like, what if someone is just a really great marketer, but they don't actually know Amazon that well, and they just know how to write a really amazing funnel and write, and they've got course materials. And so then you're asking them like, hey, I need help with launching my private label product. This issue's happening with it, and it's my PPC is off. But if that person is really great marketer, but they're not great at Amazon, then now you've got an issue that, like, you're kind of exceeding the limitations of their pre-written course format. So that's where, like, that really comes, like, you really want to talk to what would you say, 2 to 3 different sellers that have gone through a course to recently gone through a course to ask questions, or what would be your guidelines
Yeah,
for?
I would just try to get, I would try to get more than one, you know, I would try to vet it myself. You know, I would try to get a public
Yeah.
resource of some sort. Has somebody posted publicly about this? Often what happens in a lot of the private mentoring programs is when people start to ask questions, they will be banned from that group. It's very like cult mentality, and their stuff is deleted, and you know, so that kind of stuff is just, you're not going to see it publicly, right? So that's
Right.
why you need to find people that are willing to. There's a couple of big groups that I'm in that people have asked questions about the coaching and stuff, and what'll happen is a bunch of people will private message them afterwards, you know, and say, hey, don't do it, or, you know, whatever, or, this person got this price and this person got this price. And, you know, so that it's just kind of that's the thing is, and we business coaches and course developers and
Yeah.
salespeople, we need to keep that in mind because you're not going to get away with it for long. You know, as I learned in business school, ethics are important. And if you're unethical in your sales, yeah, you can delete posts and you can, you know, try your hardest to cover it up, but the word's going to get out. And so I think that, you know, it shouldn't be that hard to find, especially if it's one of these well-marketed courses. It shouldn't be that hard to find you know, 1 or 2 people that can give you their honest feedback. And I mean, also, you know, remember, just like product reviews on Amazon, that there's always going to be that customer that's like, you know, this is horrible, and this is the worst product ever, and you know, it doesn't come it comes in a poly bag. Oh no, you know, whatever. But you're always going to get that weird feedback sometimes, just from the disgruntled person who just negative, you know. But so that's why you want to get more than one piece of feedback. But yeah, I think that's it. And that kind of brings us to the third point here. Is the next way that you do it is, you want to make sure that the coach or mentor or program is a good fit for your values in business relationships.
Yeah.
Right? Would you look forward to your time with them? Would you partner with them? You know, would you enter into a business partnership with them? Because that's honestly what you're doing, right? When I'm looking for a good lawyer, I want somebody that I can call when, oh my gosh, I just got a trademark infringement and I'm terrified and I need this taken care of ASAP. I need a responsive lawyer, you know?
Right.
I need a business coach that, you know, that I can email or call when I suddenly have, my listing is down or something is happening. And, you know, I need somebody to give me information on the fly, or maybe I don't want that kind of relationship. Maybe that doesn't work for my business. So take that into consideration. You know, do you need the Lamborghini coach, or do you need somebody with that one-on-one mentorship and experience? And everybody has different values and different needs. So just take that into consideration, because you will be spending time with them and you will be relying on them. So you want to make sure that, you know, that also the advice that you're taking from people, you know, oh, that course was terrible. Are you taking it from the disgruntled person who doesn't align with your values at all? Or are you taking it from somebody that you've at least seen some of their other posts and stuff, and you kind of can have had a conversation with and can have grown to respect their opinion? I think, you know, just making sure that they're a good fit for your business is really important. If you don't get that good gut feeling that this is a good fit for you, there's probably a reason for that.
Right. No, that's so true, because I mean, it's not just a one-time transaction, especially if you're relying on somebody's advice for growing your business. Whether it's a course that you're following the videos, you've got to have that trust in what they're saying. Because if you don't trust what they're saying, you don't trust the process, you don't respect them as a person, then you're going to discount everything they say. You're not going to follow through with any of it, and you're wasting their time and your time. So that's why, you know, it really is important that you know what you're buying. You know, you're buying more than just, it's not just the sticker price that you're paying when you pay for good, you know, mentorship. So.
Yeah. And exactly. Speaking of sticker price, that's the last thing that we wanted to talk about is, what do you know about the price? Is the
Right.
price completely hidden? In order for you to get to the price, do you have to do a sales call? And in order for you to get to the price, do you have to go through this huge funnel? You know, some of the feedback that we got from our first Canton Fair experience attendees was that what drew them to us, to participating in our program, was that we didn't put them through a funnel. That it wasn't this like, you know, like we weren't not upfront with the price, and you know, they didn't feel like, oh my gosh, like what am I getting myself into, you know? So
Yeah.
if you're feeling like that, if you have to go through a whole bunch to figure out the price,
Yeah.
we were talking about this before, Jeff, where you were saying that that sometimes, you know, what will happen with prices is people will try to figure out how much capital you have to invest. So there's a pretty well-known coaching program. What they do is they get you on a sales call and they will ask you, like, you know, basically questions like, well, how serious are you about this business? How much capital have you saved up? And then, you know, you'll tell them, and your coaching program price is based on that. So
Right.
what happened is all these people started quoting all these different prices, you know, in their little private messages to each other. And soon the word was out and trust in that program had gone down. So now if you go out in that group and you mention coaching, you'll get all these private messages from people going, don't do it, don't trust it. So, you know, and you were saying the same thing with a lawyer situation, with a legal situation.
Yeah, you even see it sometimes, you know, it doesn't happen at our firm, but there are, you know, other, you know, different, you know, services being offered, and they ask to see your seller account and how much, you know, your payments report. And then they base the fee that they were going to quote on how much money you're making. And so it's like
But they don't tell
that
you
really,
that, right? They tell
no, they
you
don't
that
tell
they
you that.
need to
They
see
tell you
your
they need to,
seller central so they can look at it themselves.
exactly. And so it's like, we always do that. We don't go into someone's seller central until we've already given them a price. So it's like, you know, we're going in and we even tell them, hey, you don't even have to show us the payments tab at all. We don't, you know, we don't
You
care
don't
to
need
see it.
that.
We don't
Yeah.
need it. It's irrelevant for our purposes. And
Hmm.
so, you know, you really want to watch out for those sort of, you know, gimmicks where someone, you know, might be doing that. I mean, same thing with, there's some lawyers out, you know, just as an aside, there's some lawyers outside the United States now practicing Amazon law, which is not legal to be doing because it's United States law that affects Amazon, but they're outside the US, and you have to wonder, well, A, are they really lawyers? Because they're not in the United States. There's no jurisdiction to hold them accountable. And
Mm.
B, like, they may ask to access your seller account. But if they're not a United States lawyer and they're already holding themselves out as a US lawyer when they're not licensed in any state, then what are they doing with your seller data? And it's not protected by attorney-client privilege, because you only have attorney-client privilege if you're working with an attorney in the United States who's licensed in the United States. So like anyone on our team, for instance, it's licensed here. But, you know, if there's someone out, you know, in China or some other, you know, other country, like, you got to be really careful, because, you know, you have no clue. They might be super cheap for, you know, patents or trademarks, but they're not in the United States, and they're either going to maybe potentially do it wrong, or you never know what they're going to do. They might actually take that great idea that you spent years developing, and
Mm.
they gave you a price that's half of what you would have paid a US lawyer to file that, you know, utility patent. But now they're going to go file it themselves because they're really just, you know, operating a scam. And you have to be really careful with people,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
think
not
that
just,
you should kind of be wary of market prices. You know, it's,
yeah,
I mean, in that case, that was a situation of the person doesn't even have jurisdiction. So
right.
that, you know, shouldn't have even, you know, but when you talk about prices, like you should be wary of market prices. You should
Yeah,
kind of know like what the market price is. And if it's a lot lower, if it's like really, really cheap, like you often see this with shipping providers for Amazon, like people will pay like nothing for shipping, and then suddenly all of their product is gone. And
yeah,
this fly by night person that said that they are a shipping company that messaged them on Facebook has now gone away with all of their product and all of their money, and they have no way to get a hold of them. But they had a really good shipping price, this, you know,
right.
shipping company. So you really have to be wary of the market price, be wary of, it's funny because I found a US freight forwarder that I really trust, and I checked their credentials. I got multiple quotes, and they actually beat the quotes of any of the people that had messaged me on Facebook when I first started doing, you know, the private label shipment from China. Of course,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, go ahead and give me a quote, and my US based freight forwarder, who is a licensed customs broker and can
That's
actually
awesome.
look out for my shipments and everything with customs and everything. His prices were much better than anything that I could get from my suppliers in China. And he was quoting me all the way through. So he was explaining, okay, this is add-on costs that could happen. This is what this fee will be ahead of time. So he was able to explain that to me. And so don't be afraid also to go back to a provider and say, I got these other prices from this one. Can you break down your prices a little bit more? I get that question a lot. We charge for partners on our Canton Fair Experience course. And the reason, people are like, well, I could just watch the videos and my spouse can watch them with me. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. But your spouse is also taking up a chair in China at all of these private dinners and everything that we are paying for. So that takes, that's the reason that we have to charge per person for our course, but we offer a discount for, multiple people. But either way, sometimes don't be afraid to ask about the price. If you're wondering, you're like, man, that doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem fair. Well, that person, whoever that service provider is, or that seller, they should be able to explain their price breakdown to you,
Right.
They should be able to explain, okay, well, the trademark filing fee is this much, and then our service charge is this much, and then you can compare services, right?
Absolutely. And, if someone comes back and their price, is twice what somebody else is paying, maybe find out too, like maybe they've just bundled in a bunch of things that people normally want to have, but that you don't need. So, see if you can unbundle the price too. Like you were talking about, get that line item breakdown if they're willing to do it, because most, reputable service providers will at least explain the logic. They're not pulling numbers out of thin air. And, of course, prices do go up over time. So sometimes you might get a quote from, one day and then 2 weeks later it goes up, but that shouldn't be because they found out what you're, is that it's a bait and switch program and that they found out what money you were making. So
yeah, and even free advice, there's so much free advice out there that you're not paying a price for, but then don't forget to look at the other things that we've given you, these other considerations that we've given you today. So just to kind of go over them again. So the 4 things that you want to look for is the first thing, can you get a reference? Did someone refer you based on their personal experience, and what was their return on investment? That's number 1. The second thing is, what is the layout of the program, and is it right for you? So is this the right course format for you? Is this the right mentorship format for you? And is everything that you're paying for included at no extra cost, right? So that's the second thing. You want to consider the format. The third thing is this coach, mentor, course a good fit for your values and your business? Would you start a partnership with this person? Can you call them when you need them? Are they a good fit for your business? And the fourth thing is, what can you find out about the price? Does the price seem not right? And is it well explained? Is the pricing upfront the same for everybody? And do you feel good about the price that you're paying for the quality and the value that is being sold or given away for free to you? I think if you can answer those 4 questions positively and you feel good about the answers to those 4 questions, then this is the right information, coaching, and mentorship program for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amy. I really appreciate it. These have been really helpful. I'm sure to everyone that is going to watch this will get a lot of value from it, because whether you're starting out or you're trying to grow to your next big adventure within the e-commerce or omni-channel space, these are all important considerations that you have to think about when you're going to start running a business, and not just running a side job for that, for that matter. So thank you so much for all the, especially all the time you took to think these out, and for what you guys are doing of putting together such a great program for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me. I'm interested to see, this always starts really fun conversations about different people's experiences, and I'm interested to see if anybody else has other things to add to my little list of 4 things here. And hopefully we can all work together to find great programs that are good for our businesses and good mentorship programs, because I think that mentors are really important.
Yes.
And I think that, there's enough room in this business for all of us, but of course, we want everyone to do well, and we want them to succeed. So it's really good to have, to think about this when it comes to making good business decisions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Amy.
All right. You're welcome.